Sweater.
Sweater.
Sweat gland.
Sweat gland.
Sweatpants.
Sweatpants.
Sweatshirt.
Sweatshirt.
Sweatshop.
Sweatshop.
Sweatsuit.
Sweatsuit.
Sweaty.
Sweaty.
We came home hot and sweaty after the day's work.
Sweaty palms. A sweaty August day.
A sweaty job.
Swede.
Swede.
Swedish.
Swedish.
Sweep.
Sweep.
Bert swept the path in front of the house.
Will you sweep the leaves off the patio?
I swept the papers quickly into the drawer.
The windsurfer was swept out to sea.
Jessie was swept along by the angry crowd. The crowd swept through the gates of the stadium.
Thunderstorms swept the country.
90-mile-per-hour winds swept across the plains.
A wave of nationalism sweeping the country.
The latest craze sweeping through the teenage population.
A feeling of isolation swept over me.
Eva swept into the meeting and demanded to know what was going on.
Nixon and Agnew swept to victory with 47 million votes.
Houston swept Orlando to become NBA champions.
The hills swept down to the sea.
The general's eyes swept the horizon.
The beam from the lighthouse sweeping across the sea.
Kerry swept her hair back into a ponytail.
Branson swept all the objections aside. Houses swept away by the floods.
A sudden feeling of grief swept all my anger away. We couldn't help being swept away by Betty's enthusiasm.
19th century scientists were swept along on the tide of Darwin's theories.
The janitor was just sweeping up as I left the building.
Jam was sweeping up the bits of paper and broken glass.
Harriet swept the child up in her arms and hugged her.
With a single sweep of his sword, he cut through the rope. The kitchen needs a good sweep. The wide sweep of lawn.
The broad sweep of history.
He watched the helicopter make a sweep over the beach.
Sweeper.
Sweeper.
A road sweeper.
Sweeping.
Sweeping.
They want to make sweeping changes to education policies.
A sweeping look at European history.
The sweeping curve of the driveway.
A sweeping gesture.
A sweeping victory for Labour.
Sweepings.
Sweepings.
Sweepstake.
Sweepstake.
Presidential sweepstakes.
Sweet.
Sweet.
This tea is too sweet.
Sweet, juicy peaches.
Sweet wine. A sweet smile. How sweet of you to remember my birthday. Your little boy looks very sweet in his new coat.
Revenge is sweet.
The sweet smell of success.
The sweet taste of victory.
Good night, Becky. Sweet dreams.
Sweet-smelling flowers.
The sickly sweet smell of rotting fruit.
She has a very sweet singing voice.
She hurried to the door and took great gulps of the sweet air. I'm trying to keep Mum sweet so that she'll lend me the car.
You can't just go on in your own sweet way. We have to do this together.
I got a sweet deal on the car.
How much did they pay you for that job? Sweet F.A.
A couple whispering sweet nothings to each other.
I got 4 tickets to the concert. Sweet. Eating sweets is bad for your teeth. A sweet shop. A packet of boiled sweets. Would you like a sweet or some cheese and biscuits?
Don't cry, my sweet.
Sweet and sour.
Sweet and sour.
Sweet and sour pork.
Sweet bread.
Sweet bread.
Sweet bread.
Sweet corn.
Sweet corn.
Sweeten.
Sweeten.
Sweeten the mixture with a little honey.
A cash bonus to sweeten the deal.
Old age had not sweetened her.
Sweetened condensed milk.
Sweetened condensed milk.
Sweetener.
Sweetener.
No artificial sweeteners are used in this product.
These tax cuts are just a pre-election sweetener.
Sweet gum.
Sweet gum.
Sweetheart.
Sweetheart.
Come here, sweetheart.
Members of the council had arranged a sweetheart deal with CTS.
They were childhood sweethearts. Sweetie.
Sweetie.
Guy's father is such a sweetie.
Sweetie pie.
Sweetie pie.
Sweetmeat.
Sweetmeat.
Sweetness.
Sweetness. The sweetness of the wild rose.
A smile of great sweetness.
She's all sweetness and light when Paul's around.
Life is not all sweetness and light. Sweet pea.
Sweet pea.
Sweet pepper.
Sweet pepper.
Sweet potato.
Sweet potato.
Sweet roll.
Sweet roll.
Sweet talk.
Sweet talk.
I managed to sweet-talk her into driving me home.
Sweet-tempered.
Sweet-tempered.
Sweet William.
Sweet William.
Swell. Swell.
Swell.
Her ankle was already starting to swell. The window frame had swollen shut.
The crowd swelled to around 10,000.
The river was swollen with melted snow.
Large numbers of refugees have swollen the ranks of the unemployed.
His heart swelled with pride as he watched his daughter collect her prize.
The wind swelled the sails.
Music swelled around us.
The sea wasn't rough, but there was a heavy swell.
The growing swell of anti-government feeling.
A swell of pride.
The firm swell of her breasts.
You look swell. Swell-headed.
Swell-headed.
Swelling.
Swelling.
A painless swelling in his neck.
The spider's bite can cause pain and swelling.
These tablets should reduce the swelling.
Swelter.
Swelter.
Crowds of shoppers sweltered in the summer heat.
Sweltering.
Sweltering.
Sweltering August days.
Swept.
Swept.
Swept back.
Swept back.
Swerve.
Swerve.
The car swerved sharply to avoid the dog.
The bus swerved off the road. He would never swerve from the truth.
Swift.
Swift.
My letter received a swift reply.
She shot a swift glance at Paul.
They were swift to deny the accusations.
A swift runner.
She wiped her tears away in one swift movement.
Alice dressed swiftly.
Swig.
Swig.
He sat swigging beer and smoking.
She took a long swig of Coke.
Swill.
Swill.
Get a bucket to swill the yard down.
He swilled his brandy gently round his glass.
He does nothing but swill beer all day.
Swim.
Swim.
We swam in the chilly water.
She could swim across the lake.
She was the first woman to swim the channel.
Kids learning to swim the backstroke.
Tropical fish swam slowly around in the tank.
My head was swimming after looking at that screen all day. The numbers swam before my eyes.
Potatoes swimming in thick gravy.
Let's go for a swim. Swimmer.
Peter's a very strong swimmer.
We watched the swimmers heading out across the lake. Swimming.
Swimming.
Swimming is great exercise.
A swimming club.
We went swimming on Saturday.
Swimming bath.
Swimming bath.
Swimming cap.
Swimming cap.
Swimming costume.
Swimming costume.
Swimmingly.
Swimmingly.
Swimming pool.
Swimming pool.
Swimming trunks.
Swimming trunks.
Swimsuit.
Swimsuit.
Swimwear.
Swimwear.
Swindle.
Swindle.
A businessman who swindled investors out of millions of pounds.
A big tax swindle.
Swine.
Swine.
Leave her alone, you filthy swine.
Swine flu. Swine flu.
Swineherd.
Swineherd.
Swing.
Swing.
Let your arms swing as you walk.
A sign swinging in the wind. He was swinging his bag back and forth.
She swung her legs from side to side.
He marched around, swinging the gun by its handle. A black car swung into the drive.
Kate swung her legs out of bed.
The heavy door swung shut.
Swinging her bag over her shoulder, she hurried on.
She swung her bag at him.
Garson swung at the ball and missed.
He started swinging at me with his fists.
His mood could swing from joy to despair.
Do campaign gifts swing votes?
The war had begun to swing in Britain's favour.
Politicians have already swung into action.
We managed to swing it so that they will travel together.
She swung around to face him.
He swung the boat around and headed for the shore.
I'll swing by the grocery store on my way.
Kids playing on the swings.
A porch swing.
He took a swing at my head and missed.
The swing of her hips as she walked.
A big swing towards right-wing ideology.
She suffers from mood swings.
I spent months correcting my swing.
Once we got into the swing of it, it took no time at all.
By midnight, the end-of-course party was in full swing.
Everything you need to make your party go with a swing.
Swing bridge.
Swing bridge.
Swing door.
Swing door.
Swinging.
Swinging.
Swinging cuts in public spending.
Swinger.
Swinger.
Swinging.
Swinging.
A swinging social life.
Swinging door.
Swinging door.
Swinging 60s.
Swinging 60s.
Dad grew up in the swinging 60s.
Swingometer.
Swingometer.
Swing set.
Swing set.
Swing shift.
Swing shift.
Swinish.
Swinish.
Swipe.
Swipe.
She swiped me across the face.
He jumped forward, intending to swipe at her.
The photos were probably swiped by an employee.
Swipe your card to open the door.
His comments were a sarcastic swipe at the police.
In her latest article, she takes a swipe at her critics.
She took a swipe at the ball.
Swipe card.
Swipe card.
Swirl.
Swirl.
Smoke swirled around her.
He swirled the brandy around in his glass.
The river had become a swirling torrent.
Rumours of a takeover began to swirl around the stock markets. A swirl of dust.
Swish.
Swish.
Her skirt swished as she walked.
A swish new apartment block.
Swishing.
Swishing.
Switzerland.
Switzerland. Swiss. Swiss.
Swiss ball. Swiss ball.
Swiss chard.
Swiss chard.
Swiss roll.
Swiss roll.
Swiss steak.
Swiss steak.
Switch.
Switch.
She worked as a librarian before switching to journalism.
Duval could switch easily from French to English. He switches between TV and theatre work.
The terrorists will switch tactics. He switched sides just days before the election.
We want to switch focus away from criticism.
Tim may switch his BMW for something else. We've switched the meeting from Tuesday to Thursday.
It's not easy to switch clerical workers around.
Tom said he'd switch with me on Saturday. He asked if we could switch shifts.
Switch the freezer to defrost.
The burglar alarm was switched off.
Don't forget to switch off before you go.
He just switches off and ignores me.
Switch off by listening to music.
He switched the torch on.
The lights switch on automatically when it gets dark.
We've switched over to telephone banking. Switch over to BBC Two.
Where's the light switch?
An on-off switch. Tom flicked the switch, but nothing happened.
She claims she is willing to throw the switch of the electric chair.
Petrol can be chosen at the flick of a switch.
An important policy switch. The switch from agriculture to dairy production. A switch in emphasis.
More shoppers are making the switch to organic food.
Ed's the only one who's not eating. That's a switch.
Switchback.
Switchback.
Switchblade.
Switchblade.
Switchboard.
Switchboard.
Switchboard operators.
Hundreds of callers jammed the switchboard trying to win the tickets.
Switch card.
Switch card.
Switched on.
Switched on.
Swivel.
Swivel.
Anna swiveled round to face him. She swiveled her head round to watch what was happening.
Danny swiveled his chair away from me.
Swivel chair.
Swivel chair.
Swizz.
Swizz.
The packet's half empty. What a swizz!
Swizzle stick.
Swizzle stick.
Swollen.
Swollen.
Swollen glands. A badly swollen ankle. His eyes were swollen from crying.
Swoon.
Swoon.
Crowds of teenage girls swooning over pop stars.
Swoop.
Swoop.
The eagle hovered, ready to swoop at any moment.
A helicopter suddenly swooped down.
Drug officers swooped on several addresses in London last night.
Police arrested a man in a swoop on his house last night.
Swoosh.
Swoosh.
Swap.
Swap.
Sword.
Sword.
The treaty hung like a sword of Damocles over French politics.
Sword dance.
Sword dance.
Swordfish.
Swordfish.
Swordsman.
Swordsman.
Swordsmanship.
Swordsmanship.
Swore.
Swore.
Sworn.
Sworn.
SWAT.
SWAT.
A SWOT analysis.
SWAT.
Students swatting for exams. It's worth swatting up on all the different types of computer before you buy one.
I spent all last night swatting up German verbs.
Swum.
Swum.
Swung.
Swung.
Sybaritic.
Sybaritic.
Sycamore.
Sycamore.
Sycophant.
Sycophant.
A dictator surrounded by sycophants.
Sycophantic.
Sycophantic.
Sycophantic journalists. A sycophantic letter.
Syllabic.
Syllabic.
Syllabic stress.
Syllable.
Syllable.
Syllabub.
Syllabub.
Syllabus.
Syllabus.
2 Shakespeare plays are on this year's English syllabus.
Syllogism.
Syllogism.
Sylph.
Sylph.
Sylph-like.
Sylph-like.
Sylvan.
Sylvan.
Sim.
Sim.
Symbiosis.
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 Symbiotic.
Symbiotic.
Symbol.
Symbol.
The symbol on the packet is a guarantee that the food has been produced organically.
The dove is a symbol of peace.
Fe is the chemical symbol for iron. Space exploration provides a symbol of national pride.
Symbolic.
Symbolic.
The protest was a symbolic gesture of anger at official policy.
A meeting of symbolic importance.
It was a largely symbolic gesture from a government trying to win support.
Each element of the ceremony has a symbolic meaning.
Today's fighting is symbolic of the chaos which the country is facing.
A map is a form of symbolic representation.
Symbolism.
Symbolism.
Religious symbolism.
Symbolize.
Symbolize.
Crime often symbolizes a wider social problem.
Growing discontent has been symbolized by the protests.
Symbolic.
Symbolic.
The protest was a symbolic gesture of anger at official policy.
A meeting of symbolic importance.
It was a largely symbolic gesture from a government trying to win support.
Each element of the ceremony has a symbolic meaning.
Today's fighting is symbolic of the chaos which the country is facing.
A map is a form of symbolic representation.
Symmetry.
Symmetry.
The symmetry of the design.
There was a certain symmetry to coming back to New York, where I started my artistic life all those years ago.
Sympathetic.
Sympathetic.
A sympathetic friend.
A sympathetic attitude.
I'm sympathetic to parents who are worried about what their children see on television.
We hope always to provide a friendly, sympathetic ear.
Senator Capp is very sympathetic to environmental issues.
A sympathetic environment.
Jill smiled sympathetically.
Sympathize.
Sympathize.
I sympathize, but I don't know how to help.
I can sympathize with those who have lost loved ones.
The public sympathized with the miners' strike.
Sympathizer.
Sympathizer.
The anti-abortion rally attracted many sympathizers.
Sympathy.
Sympathy. I have a lot of sympathy for her. She had to bring up the children on her own.
I have absolutely no sympathy for students who get caught cheating in exams.
Our sympathies are with the families of the victims.
Willard is in sympathy with many Green Party issues.
Her sympathies lie firmly with the Conservative Party.
Matheson is known for his pro-socialist sympathies. Sullivan expressed sympathy for the striking federal workers.
There was no personal sympathy between them.
Symphony.
Symphony.
Bruckner's Fifth Symphony.
Symposium.
Symposium.
A symposium on women's health.
Symptom.
Symptom.
Common symptoms of diabetes are weight loss and fatigue.
The disappearance of jobs is a symptom of a deeper socio-economic change.